All right, let's get right into it. When we talk about cybersecurity, our minds usually jump to firewalls, antivirus software, all that complex tech stuff. But what if I told you your biggest security risk and also your greatest potential defense is sitting in your office right now? Today, we're going to break down exactly how to turn your employees from a liability into a powerful human firewall. So let's start with just a number, 74%. Take a second and think, what could that possibly be? It's not the success rate of some new software, it's not how many companies have a security policy. Nope, it's something way more fundamental to this whole cybersecurity challenge.
That's it. Nearly 3/4 of all breaches involved people. Whether it's an honest mistake, someone stealing credentials, or a really clever social engineering trick. And what that tells us is just so important. Cybersecurity isn't just a technology problem, it's a people problem, which means the solution has to be too.
This is the big question, right? This is what we're here to tackle. And the answer is to build what we call a human firewall. A workforce that's so security aware, they actually become your first and best line of defense. So let's walk through the 10-step roadmap to get it done. Okay, so before you can teach anyone anything, you have to lay the groundwork. This first phase is all about strategy. It's about getting the right support in place and setting crystal clear expectations from the start. So what does this foundation actually look like? Well, it's built on 3 main pillars. First, you've got to secure leadership buy-in, because let's be honest, without support from the top, any program is pretty much doomed. Second, you establish clear policies that are like simple rules of the road for everybody. And finally, you assess your specific risks so you're not just guessing, you're focusing your efforts where you're most vulnerable. And how do you get that leadership buy-in? You frame it as an investment, not an expense. This chart just shows it perfectly. Look at the cost of proactive training. It is tiny, absolutely tiny, compared to the catastrophic cost of a single breach. The return on investment here isn't just good, it's a no-brainer. And that brings us to the policies. You know that 50-page document that just gathers dust on a shelf? Totally useless. The goal here is to make security a habit, not a handbook. And that means simple, jargon-free guidelines that are baked right into the way people work every single day. All right, so our foundation is in place. Now it's time to actually start building. This next phase is all about giving your team the practical, essential knowledge they need to spot threats and, more importantly, stop them. This is really the heart of the program, the core skills. We have to start by making sure the training is actually engaging, because bored employees learn absolutely nothing. Then, we focus on the single biggest threat out there, phishing. We cover the basics of strong passwords, account security, then we expand that security perimeter with training on device security for this remote world we live in. And finally, we build habits for safe data handling to protect our most valuable digital assets.
So why do we start with phishing? Just look at this. A staggering 91% of all cyber attacks start with a phishing email. It's incredible. If you can train your team to master one single skill, it should be spotting a phish. It is the highest impact training you can possibly do.
So, how do you teach this? You give them a simple, practical checklist. Train your people to ask questions. Does this email feel way too urgent? Is the greeting super generic like "Dear Customer"? Does the sender's address look even a little bit off? These simple questions are the red flags that turn a potential victim into a frontline threat detector. Next up, passwords. For years, we were told to create these complex, impossible-to-remember passwords. But the thinking on this has totally changed. A long, memorable passphrase is just exponentially more secure and way easier to remember than a short, complicated one. Length beats complexity. Every time. In a world where work happens everywhere, coffee shops, airports, home offices, the office is no longer your security perimeter. Every one of those places is now part of your network. And that's why these basic device habits, always updating your software, always using a VPN on public Wi-Fi, are absolutely non-negotiable. So, we've laid the foundation, we've taught the core skills. Are we done? Not even close. See, knowledge is pretty useless if it isn't remembered and put into practice. This final phase is all about making security a reflex, something you do without even thinking. These last 2 steps, this is what separates a program that actually works from one that just fades away after a month. It's about turning knowledge into action through practice, through simulations. Then you fight the biggest enemy of all training, forgetting, with continuous reinforcement that keeps those skills sharp. But why is that reinforcement so important? Well, the answer lies in this number, 90%. It represents the single biggest failure of most corporate training programs out there.
So think about that typical one-and-done annual training session. You sit through it, you check the box, but what happens to all that knowledge a month later for 90% of the people who took it? The answer is kind of sobering.
They forget it. There is this thing called the forgetting curve, and it is steep. If knowledge isn't used and reinforced, it just decays. It's human nature. And this is exactly why a one-time training event is basically a waste of money. The real value is in the continuous, ongoing reinforcement. And how do you reinforce it? You make it real. You run phishing simulations and incident drills. And look, this isn't about catching employees making mistakes. It's about giving them a safe place to practice. It's like a fire drill for a cyber attack. It's about turning that head knowledge into pure muscle memory. And that's the ultimate transformation we're talking about here. Every employee starts out as a potential target for an attacker. But this quote says it all. Your investment in training is what converts a target into a shield. So that brings us to our final question. And I want you to really think about your own organization. Right now, is your team a collection of potential vulnerabilities just waiting for a single wrong click? Or are they your active, vigilant, and powerful human firewall? The choice really is yours to make.